In early December, I packed all my things into my car, picked up my dad from a nearby airport, and together we drove halfway across the country from where my clinical rotation had been back to my hometown. It took 3 or 4 days to make the whole drive, and we were very fortunate not to hit any big snowstorms like we thought that we might have. The first thing we did when we returned to our hometown was pick up our little dog from my aunt and uncle's. I hadn't seen that little guy in months, and it was so good to scoop him up and take him home. And here I am, back at home. I had filmed this episode one other time before in my personal bedroom with my puppy, but it ended up being like an hour-long video, not because I had a lot of stuff to say, but because most of it went a little something like this. And not only was I just not a big fan of how busy the background was because it was so bright in there, but because there's just something personal about inviting people into your space, even if it is online. I like being private on the internet, and I didn't feel like having people sit with me in my childhood bedroom for 20-30 minutes or however long it was going to be. So I'm in a different bedroom in my house, and I'm leaving it mostly dark in the back because I kind of like that. I like that vibe. I am currently on a break in between my 2 clinical rotations. The first one was at that rural hospital, and the second one is in the school district in my hometown. And my first day will be in the elementary school that I went to 4th and 5th grade in. So that is going to be kind of wild, a little blast from the past. And I am super pumped to be in a school because that's kind of where, ever since I first learned about what occupational therapy was, I've wanted to do OT in a school. My hospital experience was excellent, and I don't know if I've mentioned this before on here, but I kind of even have that inkling in my mind of, if school-based OT doesn't work out, I would be more than happy going back to the more medical side of things. But I also am really looking forward to the sort of change of pace, the change of the kind of therapy that I'll be doing, and being able to be with kids. I just love kids, and I've known for a long time that whatever I do, I want to be working with children for my future, basically. And even though I am on a break, and I did go on a very long road trip, I don't have that many finished objects, and that's okay, because there was other things going on in my life and in my family, and I really wanted to honor the time that we had together. So I focused more on being present rather than seeing how much knitting I could get done. But I am very delighted to share with you what I did finish, because it has been a long time coming. This is my fully completed Botanical lace wrap. If you don't know the story of this, I have had this on the needles for well over a year, maybe even 2 years. I haven't really been keeping track, but it feels like forever, and I finally finished it. The pattern is by Pearl Soho. It's free. I don't quite remember what the yarn was, but I'm putting that in the description like everything else I mentioned in this podcast. And I have even blocked and woven in the ends, so it is 100% complete. I have also completed these fingerless mitts. I call them my Rustic driving mitts because I keep them in my car and use them to keep my hands warm when I'm driving in the winter. And they are from the pattern Last Day's Mitts by Autumn Poppy Designs. The yarn is an alpaca DK weight yarn from the Valley Ridge alpaca farm that my family and I visited in August, I believe it was. And the alpaca that made this yarn possible is named Miss Cutie Patootie, which just warms my heart as well as my hands, quite literally. They are soft and squishy and cozy, and I really, really love them. I love how they turned out, especially because I deviated a little bit from the pattern to make them look a little more rustic. And if you are interested in making a similar set for yourself, I have all the sort of notes and adjustments on my Ravelry page. I also have tons of this yarn left, and I'm not quite sure what to do with it, so I might just have to make matching sets for my family or something. As for works in progress, I've got a bunch scattered around, but the one that I have been the most consistent with is this baby sweater. You know I love a baby sweater. From the pattern Flax Light by Tin Can Knits. As you can see, I have finished the body. I am almost done with one of the sleeves, and it is still quite blobby, which is okay. It should neaten itself out when I block it. But to sort of give it more of that structure, since it is a top-down, in the round, kind of tube-like sweater, I have taken some inspiration from the little garter panel on the sleeves here and created a sort of false seam down each side of the sweater. And I'll show you a little more closely. There it is. Hopefully it will give the garment a little stretch, but more importantly, some more structure. The yarn that I am using is 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, so it is machine washable, which is great if you're ever gifting a baby sweater, because there's no guarantee that anything that you knit for a baby will stay clean longer than 30 seconds. It is Heritage Sock Yarn by Cascade Yarns in the color 5759 or Latte. You can see it's this lovely, soft, sort of teddy bear brown, and already it is making for a absolutely adorable little sweater. This next segment, for the first time, potentially ever, I am sharing my yarn acquisitions. I don't think that I have really ever shared the yarn that I've bought on this podcast. Probably because I am more of a project-oriented yarn shopper. I don't like purchasing yarn unless I have a specific project in mind that I'm going to use it for. But not the case this time. I have got quite a bit of impulse buy yarn and gifted yarn that I don't really have any set plans for, and that just makes me really excited because the possibilities are kind of endless. The first yarns that I want to share are the result of my very first sort of adventure into the world of naturally dyed yarn. Mars from the Hey Brown Berry podcast is a natural yarn dyer who uses, in some of her yarns, she uses food scraps, which I think is really neat. I have been composting for years. I have saved aside my veggie scraps to make homemade vegetable broth with, also for years. It really delighted me to learn that I could combine my two loves, the love of yarn and the love of living like it's the Great Depression and getting as much use out of my food as I possibly can. So, in September, when I first moved to the little town that I was staying in for my rotation, I started sort of squirreling away my like avocado pits and peels, my orange peels, my parts of beets that I was eating, bits of mushrooms, the shells from acorns that I was collecting to make acorn flour, so that when I finally had enough stored up on the very first big snow of the year, I got all my pots and dyed some yarn. So these are the yarns that I dyed. The base is Highland Fingering Yarn by Cloudborne Fibers in the color Taupe Heather. And as you can see, the color isn't very bright or bold, which is what I wanted. But for a first timer, I am quite pleased with the end product and really pumped to knit with them. This first yarn was dyed primarily with avocado peels and onion peels with avocado pits as a mordant. Mordant helps bind the pigment to the fibers so that you get a really lovely color. It's orange and yellow from the onion peels. It was supposed to turn like pink or peach or a deeper beige with the avocado peels. I don't think that quite turned out, but like I said, that's okay. I'm a beginner and I will stock up some more for next time. For this one, I also used avocado pits as the mordant and dyed it with beet peels, acorn shells, and sort of mushroom scraps. And it is very faintly dyed in a sort of green and brown and light pink. The pink is what really surprised me because that comes from beets, and if you've ever cooked or worked with beets, you know that if you look at the beets wrong, they will stain everything in sight. So the fact that they didn't turn this yarn like neon fuchsia, I am quite surprised, but nonetheless, like I mentioned before, really proud of what I've kind of accomplished here. And I specifically chose a fingering weight yarn so that I can eventually knit the two strands together and create not just the color changing yarn between each individual ball of yarn, but together make a really cool color pattern. But now I know a lot more things to look forward to when I try dyeing yarn again. My second batch of acquisitions are some of my favorite yarn ever. It is Chickadee by Quince & Co. And not only do I love just this yarn because it's called Chickadee, but because it's always so soft, always a delight to knit with, and the colors are always incredibly creamy, if that makes any sense. These are a 100% wool yarn in the colors clay and sedum. One of my favorite things to knit with Quince & Co. Chickadee yarn is colorful brioche, whether it's a cowl or a hat or fingerless mitts. But I mostly just picked these not for the project that they could be used for, but because I just loved the color combination when I saw it in the yarn shop and knew that I just really wanted to add them to my stash. But I'm excited to kind of see what these turn into. And last but not least, the yarn that I am really excited to share with you is the August through October Studio Ghibli Yarn Club from Big Little Yarn Co. They are hand-dyed by Mel from Big Little Yarn Co., who also has a podcast called Cozy Cardigans, based in Hyogo, Japan. And I was really pumped about this. If you're not familiar with Little Big Yarn Co., all of Mel's yarn is absolutely gorgeous. Every single color is so soft and lovely, whether it is just a plain solid yarn or a more colorful striated yarn. Hello, mister. Do we have a guest? We do indeed! This is Simka. He's the family pup that I was so excited to get home to. He's a Shih Tzu. He's going to turn 8 years old soon. We've had him a little over a year, and he is just a total joy to have around. And I don't know if he wants to be on my lap. Hey, puppy. What do you want? You want to go downstairs and play? Are you getting lonely? Oh, well, we're gonna have to take a little intermission here. All right, so we're back. I brought him his favorite little ball, so you might hear him sort of winking and playing with that behind me. It's actually a dryer ball that he stole out of my laundry and made his own, but he's just so cute, and whatever makes him happy makes me happy. So he is free to chew on my dryer ball to his heart's content. And the yarn. The first yarn sort of set in this collection is called the Merry-Go-Round of Life. I also should mention that this is the Studio Ghibli Yarn Club, and Studio Ghibli is a animation studio in Japan that was started by filmmaker Hayao Miyazaki, and each one of these sets of sock yarn, which is a mini skein and a larger full skein, is sort of based off of a particular movie and named after a different piece of music in the soundtrack. So this is the Merry-Go-Round of Life from Howl's Moving Castle. The mini skein has just light variations of pinks and reds, whereas the full skein is chock full of tons of different colors. The yarn really is that pale, so it's not just getting washed out from the light, but it's got like purple speckles, different blues, some greens, and it's just, oh, it's so beautiful to look at. Howl's Moving Castle is also currently just one of my favorite movies ever. I first watched it at a sleepover in middle school, but I wasn't exactly interested in watching a movie at that time. I think I hid in the bathroom and read Anne of Green Gables or Little Women or something instead. But then in college, some of my friends and I had a Studio Ghibli movie marathon, and of course you gotta watch Howl's Moving Castle, and I remember being kind of blown away. I didn't understand the story, but it was pretty and it stayed with me. I then watched it again and again, and then read the book, and then listened to the audiobook, and then watched it 4 more times in the span of a week, and it just never got old. It is also a certified comfort movie of mine. When I turned 24 years old, it was the first birthday that I was spending not only just away from family, but across the country from family, and I wouldn't be seeing them that week or that weekend to, you know, spend time with them. And I distinctly remember baking myself a cake and sitting down with Howl's Moving Castle, and it being just a really special time. So any movie could have, you know, made me thrilled to be a part of this sort of yarn club collection, but I'm really glad that Howl's was one of them. The next one is called The Legend of Ashitaka from the movie Princess Mononoke. This is another phenomenal movie that I've seen multiple times. It's never gotten old, and it is my brother's favorite Studio Ghibli movie, so I probably will make something with this for him because it feels fitting. The mini skein is sort of like the past one. It has sort of faint variations of different greens, sort of like a sage green, a more sea foamy teal green, and then the full one has even more color than the last. It is just stuffed with these sort of yellow, mustardy shades, blues, reds and purples and greens and different speckles, and it's just so good. It's just so good. I could just look at it forever and enjoy it just as it is. But I also know that it's going to make a really spectacular garment too. And this last one is more nostalgic for me. It's called The Girl Who Fell from the Sky, from the movie Castle in the Sky, which was, for a long time, my favorite movie. I was first introduced to Studio Ghibli by my best friend in elementary school in about 2nd or 3rd grade when she showed me My Neighbor Totoro. But I didn't really know that there were other movies made by the same studio or made by Hayao Miyazaki until about like 7th grade when I stumbled upon Castle in the Sky and rented it from the local library. And it quickly became my favorite movie ever when I was like 11 through 13 years old. And specifically, the song "The Girl Who Fell from the Sky" it's the main theme of the movie, and you hear it kind of throughout, and it is so gorgeous, and it always takes me back when I listen to it. This one, the mini skein, it's a little more difficult to see, but it continues that sort of faint variations of teal with more like individual stripes of green here and there, and it sort of fades into more truer blue and then back to a bluish green, paired with this less colorful but nonetheless still very lovely main large skein of yarn, with more, continued with the teals and the blues, with more light blues, sky blue and navy blue, red speckles, greens, and they just pair very, very nicely. This is sort of all of them together as a bouquet, and when I, hey puppy. And when I showed these to my family, they were absolutely floored, like I was. Hi. My sister even said that it was the first time that she had audibly gasped when she saw yarn. So he is attacking the blanket right now, but my sister even said that it was the first time that she audibly gasped when she looked at yarn. So that Big Little Yarn Co. is phenomenal, and Mel is absolutely incredible at what she does. And this little guy is getting very, very impatient, and so I will skip what I was going to end with, which was the my favorite knitting podcasts from the past year, but instead I'm just going to put that in the description and ask anyone else to share their favorite knitting podcasts, sort of shout out other creators and share the love. And with that, I hope that your 2022 is very kind to you and that you have just a lovely start to your year. I'll see you soon.